The Galactic Conquer Station was the largest structure ever built by any species in the known universe. It floated in the darkness of space like a city made of light and metal. Thousands of ships came and went every day. Millions of beings from hundreds of different worlds walked its corridors. This was where the galaxy made its decisions. This was where empires rose and fell with the stroke of a pen. On this particular day, a small human ship docked at one of the lesser ports. It was not an impressive vessel compared to the massive warships of the Veil, Dominion, or the elegant cruisers of the Kaihi Federation. It looked like a child's toy. The airlock opened and Ambassador Marcus Cole stepped onto the station for the first time. He was not what anyone expected. The aliens who bothered to look saw a human male in his mid-50s. His hair was grey at the temples. His face was lined with age. He wore a simple dark suit that fit him well, but was not fancy. He carried no weapons that anyone could see. He walked with a calm, steady pace that suggested he was in no hurry to be anywhere. A group of Veil warriors stood nearby, watching the new arrival. They were tall reptilian creatures with scales the color of dried blood. Their eyes were yellow and cold. One of them made a noise that might have been laughter. "This is the human ambassador," he said to his companions. "This old creature, the humans send us their grandfather." The others laughed. Marcus Cole walked past them without a word. His expression did not change. He did not even look at them. The Veilth Dominion had ruled 100 worlds for 10,000 years. They were proud. They were powerful. They did not think much of humans. After all, humanity had only discovered faster than light travel 30 years ago. In galactic terms, they were infants, children who had just learned to walk, trying to sit at the table with adults. Marcus made his way through the station toward the diplomatic quarter. He moved through the crowds of aliens with an easy grace that few noticed. His eyes were always moving, always watching. He never walked with his back to an open doorway. He always knew where the exits were. These were small things, habits, the kind of habits a man develops over many years in a certain kind of work. A young Kershi female watched him pass. The Kershi were a bird-like species with bright feathers and sharp minds. This particular Kershi was named Vela, and she worked for her government's intelligence service. It was her job to watch new arrivals, to notice things that others missed. She noticed the way Marcus Cole moved. She noticed the way he seemed to see everything without appearing to look at anything. She noticed that despite his age and his plain appearance, there was something about him that made her feathers lie flat against her body. She made a note to look into this human more closely. The welcome reception was held that evening in the grand hall of the station. Representatives from over 200 species filled the massive room. Crystal chandeliers floated in the air, held up by gravity fields. Food and drink from 1,000 worlds covered the tables. Music played from hidden speakers. Marcus Cole stood alone near one wall holding a glass of water. He had been introduced to dozens of aliens, and each one had dismissed him after a few moments of polite conversation. That was fine. He was used to being underestimated. He preferred it. Lord Sith entered the hall with a group of Veil nobles. He was the High Delegate of the Veil Dominion, and he moved like he owned the room. Perhaps he did. The Veil had been pushing hard for a new resolution that would classify humanity as a protectorate species. This would mean humans could not vote in the council. They would have no voice in galactic affairs. They would exist only at the pleasure of more powerful species. Seth saw Marcus and smiled. It was not a friendly smile. He walked over and the crowd parted before him. His followers came with him, forming a half-circle around the human ambassador. "Ambassador Cole," Sithrak said, his voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "I have been looking forward to meeting you. Tell me, how does it feel to represent such a young and primitive people?" Marcus took a sip of his water. "It feels like an honor, Lord Sithrak." "An honor." Sithra laughed. "Your species still dies of old age. You cannot even fix your own bodies. What honor is there in representing creatures who live such short, meaningless lives?" "Every life has meaning," Marcus said quietly. "Long or short." Seth stepped closer. A servant was carrying a tray of ceremonial wine. Sithric took a glass and with a deliberate motion poured it down the front of Marcus' suit. The red liquid spread across the dark fabric like blood. The hall went silent. Every eye turned to watch. "Oh dear," Sithrek said, his voice dripping with false concern. "How clumsy of me. But then I suppose it does not matter. Humans are used to being beneath other species. You are like pets who have learned to speak. Amusing, but not important." Marcus looked down at his ruined suit. Then he looked up at Sither. His expression had not changed. There was no anger in his eyes, no shame, nothing at all. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small cloth. Calmly, he began to dab at the stain. "I have had worse stains," he said. Something flickered in Sither's eyes. He had expected anger. He had expected fear. He had expected something he could use against the human. Instead, he got nothing. "Enjoy your evening, Ambassador," Sithra said, turning away. "Enjoy it while you can. After tomorrow's vote, your species will learn its true place in this galaxy." He walked away, his followers laughing and congratulating him on his performance. Marcus watched him go. Then he finished cleaning his suit as best he could and returned to his water. From across the room, Vela, the Karishi intelligence officer, watched everything. She had seen many diplomats humiliated in her career. Some responded with anger, some with tears, some with empty threats. None had ever responded with such complete calm. That night, she sat in her small office and accessed her government's intelligence database. She searched for everything she could find on Marcus Cole. Most of his file was redacted. Entire sections were simply blank. What little information remained raised more questions than it answered. There were references to something called Project Terminus. There were mentions of a 30-year career that officially did not exist. There were codes and clearance levels that Vela had never seen before. At the bottom of the file, there was a single note from a human intelligence official. It read, "In the event of Ambassador Cole's death, implement Protocol Omega immediately. Do not attempt recovery. Do not attempt negotiation. Just run." VR stared at the screen for a long time. What are the humans hiding? She whispered to herself. In his quarters, Marcus Cole removed his stained suit and hung it carefully in the closet. He stood by the window and looked out at the stars. His hands were steady. His breathing was calm. He thought about Lord Sithrak and the vote that would happen tomorrow. He thought about the 43 members of his diplomatic staff sleeping on the human ship. Good people, young people, people who believed that the galaxy could be a place of peace and cooperation. He hoped they were right. He hoped he would not have to show the galaxy what he really was. Marcus Cole had spent 30 years being humanity's quiet knife. He had done things that would never appear in any history book. He had ended threats before they could begin. He had been designed for a single purpose: to be the last resort when all other options failed. His creators had called him insurance. His enemies had called him myth. He preferred to be neither. He preferred to be a diplomat. But as he watched the stars, he knew that some things could not be solved with words. Some enemies only understood one language. And Marcus Cole spoke that language better than anyone alive. The council chamber was shaped like an enormous bowl. Thousands of seats rose up in circles around a central platform where speakers addressed the assembly. Today, every seat was filled. Representatives from across the galaxy had come to witness the vote on humanity's future. Marcus Cole stood on the speaker's platform. He looked small against the vast chamber. His voice was calm and measured as he made his final argument. Humanity asks only for the chance to prove itself. He said, "We are young. Yes, we have much to learn. But we come to this council with open hands and open hearts. We wish to be partners, not subjects. We wish to contribute, not to be controlled." He paused and looked around the chamber. Thousands of alien faces looked back at him. Most showed boredom. Some showed contempt. "Give us time," Marcus said. "That is all we ask. Time to show you what humanity can become." He stepped down from the platform. The vote began. It did not take long. Species after species voted against humanity. The Veil and their allies were well prepared. When the final count came, it was not even close. Humanity would be classified as a protectorate species. For the next 100 years, they would be supervised by the Veil Dominion. They would have no vote, no voice, no power. Lord Sithric rose from his seat with a smile that showed all his teeth. "The council has spoken," he announced. "The humans will learn their place, and I personally will ensure they never forget it." Marcus accepted the ruling with a slight bow. His face showed nothing. After the session ended, he approached Lord Scythe. "My lord," Marcus said, "I would request a private meeting to discuss the terms of our new arrangement. Perhaps we can find ways to make this transition smooth for both our peoples." Sithra looked at the human with amusement. "You wish to negotiate after you have already lost." "I wish to talk," Marcus said. "Nothing more." Seth considered this. A private meeting would give him another chance to humiliate the human. Perhaps he could even provoke an incident that would justify harsher measures against humanity. "Very well," Sithra said. "Meet me in the diplomatic wing in 1 hour. Corridor 7. We will talk." Marcus nodded and walked away. 1 hour later, Marcus Cole walked down Corridor 7. It was an isolated section of the station, far from the main traffic areas. The lighting was dim. The walls were plain metal. There were no windows. 6 Vaelth warriors waited for him. They were not diplomats. They were soldiers. Each one stood over 2 m tall. Their scales were thick enough to stop most weapons. Their claws could tear through steel. They had been chosen specifically for this task. Lord Sithric had given them simple instructions. The human would attack first. They would defend themselves. Unfortunately, the fragile human would not survive the encounter. A tragic accident, nothing more. Marcus stopped when he saw them blocking the corridor. He looked at each one in turn. Then he looked past them as if searching for someone else. "I was told Lord Sith would be here," he said. The lead warrior stepped forward. "Lord Sithrak sends his regrets. He asked us to deliver a message." "And what message is that?" The warrior smiled. "That humans need to learn respect." The 6 warriors spread out surrounding Marcus. There was no escape. The corridor behind him was sealed. The corridor ahead was blocked. Marcus sighed. It was a small sound, almost sad. "Gentlemen," he said, "I am going to ask you once to reconsider." The warriors laughed. The sound echoed off the metal walls. "The human wants us to reconsider," the leader said. "How amusing. Perhaps we should let him go. Perhaps we should apologize for frightening him." More laughter. Marcus nodded slowly. "I understand. I want you to know that I gave you a chance." He moved. What happened next was not a fight. A fight implies 2 sides with some chance of victory. This was something else entirely. The first warrior lunged forward with his claws extended. Marcus stepped to the side and caught the warrior's arm. There was a snapping sound and the warrior screamed as his elbow bent the wrong way. Before he could fall, Marcus spun him around and threw him into the second warrior. Both went down in a tangle of limbs. The third warrior swung a massive fist at Marcus' head. Marcus ducked under it and drove his palm into the warrior's throat. The warrior made a choking sound and collapsed, unable to breathe. 4 seconds had passed. The 4th and 5th warriors attacked together. Marcus caught one by the wrist, twisted, and used the warrior's own momentum to throw him into the wall. The impact left a dent in the metal. The 5th warrior tried to grab Marcus from behind. Marcus dropped low, swept the warrior's legs, and was already moving before the body hit the floor. 8 seconds. The 6th warrior, the leader, backed away. His eyes were wide with something he had never felt before. Fear. "What are you?" he whispered. Marcus walked toward him. There was no hurry in his movements, no anger, just terrible absolute certainty. The warrior drew his ceremonial blade. It was a weapon that had been in his family for generations. He had trained with it since childhood. He had killed with it many times. He thrust at Marcus' heart. Marcus was not there. He was beside the warrior, then behind him. The blade was no longer in the warrior's hand. It was embedded in the warrior's shoulder armor, pinning him to the wall. 11 seconds, 6 warriors, all down. Marcus straightened his suit. There was a small tear in one sleeve. He frowned at it slightly. The pinned warrior stared at him with pure terror. "Tell your lord I will be expecting an apology," Marcus said. His voice was calm, pleasant, even formal, written by morning. He walked away without looking back. Station security arrived minutes later. They found the scene and could not understand what they were seeing. 6 of the Vailith's best warriors defeated by one elderly human. It seemed impossible. They took Marcus to the security office for questioning. Medical teams attended to the warriors. The doctors ran scans and became very quiet when they saw the results. Meanwhile, Vaila, the Kari-Shi intelligence officer, watched the security footage from a hidden terminal. She played it back again and again, slowing it down, studying every movement. Then she ran a medical scan on Marcus Cole. The results made no sense. His bone density was 3 times normal. His reflexes operated at speeds that should not be possible for any biological creature. And there was something else in his bloodstream. Millions of tiny machines too small to see with the naked eye. Nanomachines working constantly to repair and enhance his body. Marcus Cole was not a normal human. He was not even close. Vaila dug deeper into the classified files. She used every trick she knew to break through the encryption. Piece by piece, the truth emerged. Project Terminus had been a human military program started 40 years ago. Its purpose was simple: to create the perfect soldier, the perfect weapon. Someone who could go anywhere, do anything, and survive any opposition. 12 volunteers had undergone the procedure. Only one survived. Marcus Cole. His official designation within human black operations was Reaper 1. Vaila found a list of his missions. 47 verified operations. 16 planetary conflicts ended before they could begin. 3 hostile species' entire leadership. Structures had been dismantled by one man working alone. Vaila leaned back in her chair. Her feathers were pressed flat against her body. Her hearts were beating too fast. What have the Vioeth done? She whispered. At that moment, Lord Sithrak received word of what had happened. His warriors had failed. The humans still lived. And now the entire station was asking questions. Sithrak's rage was terrible to behold. He smashed furniture. He screamed at his advisors. He demanded solutions. One advisor stepped forward nervously. My lord, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. This human is more dangerous than we. Seth grabbed him by the throat. One human. You want me to fear one human? He threw the advisor across the room. No. If one human cannot be killed quietly, then we will send a louder message. He turned to his military commander. Contact the fleet. Order them to target the human diplomatic vessel. All hands aboard. The commander hesitated. My lord, that would be an act of war. Against what? Sitha laughed. Against a protectorate species. We have every right to discipline them. Do it now. The commander bowed and left to carry out the order. In his quarters, Marcus Cole was looking out the window at the stars when his communication device buzzed. It was a message from the human ship. Ambassador, we are detecting weapons locks from multiple Veil vessels. What should we do? Marcus closed his eyes. He thought of Sarah Chen, his young aide, who had shown him pictures of her newborn son just that morning. He thought of the 42 other staff members on that ship. Good people, innocent people. Get everyone to the escape pods, he said. Now he was too late. The Vailith opened fire. Through the window, Marcus watched the human ship come apart in a ball of flame. 43 lives ended in an instant. 43 people who had done nothing wrong. 43 people who had believed in peace. Marcus stood very still for a long time. When he finally moved, something had changed in his eyes. Something cold, something old, something that had been sleeping for a very long time. Death had woken up. The wreckage of the human diplomatic vessel drifted in the cold darkness of space. Small fires still burned where oxygen leaked from broken sections. Bodies floated among the debris. Emergency lights flickered red and then went dark. Marcus Cole stood in what remained of the main corridor. He had arrived in a small shuttle just minutes after the attack. The station's emergency teams had not even reached the scene yet. He was alone with the dead. His feet made no sound as he walked through the destruction. Glass crunched beneath his shoes. Sparks fell from broken wires. The smell of burned metal filled the air. He found Sarah Chen's body near her office. She had been trying to reach the escape pods when the hull breach caught her. She still held her personal tablet in her hand. On the screen, frozen in time, was a picture of her baby son. She had been looking at it when she died. Marcus knelt beside her. He reached out and gently closed her eyes. Then he took the diplomatic badge from her jacket.